Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for coming out. At this time, I'll start the meeting. In accordance with the visions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Asbury Park Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting by sending a notice of the time, date, location, and estate known. The agenda of this meeting to the Asbury Park Press, the New Coaster on April 5th, 2022 via email. Copies of this notice has been placed in Administration Building, Bulletin Board, District Schools, Asbury Park Municipal Building, Asbury Park Police Department, and filed with the City Clerk on April 5th, 2022. The Asbury Park will provide all students with a comprehensive and progressive education where everyone possesses the skills and characters to succeed in diverse and evolving society. Roll call, please.
Ms. Halls, Ms. Breach, Mr. Grillo,
Here.
Mr. LaRocca, here. Mr. Remy, Ms. Ricks, here. Mr. Saunders, Ms. Lazinski,
Here.
Ms. Cook.
Please rise to the flag salute. Dominic, can I have your report, please?
Certainly. Finance Committee met on May 12. First item, we discussed the 2023 budget and stabilization aid. There is upcoming availability of stabilization aid. Last year, the state issued $37 million. It's anticipated that there'll be approximately $50 million in the stabilization aid pool this year. And the district will apply once it's available. This is one-time allowance, and the difficulty is our submission must include a statement detailing how we operate in future years without the additional awards of stabilization aid. As we looked at wrapping up the 2023 budget, we already started looking at 2024 and realizing it's going to be a significant shortage, so that's going to be an issue in our application, but we plan to do so. Second, the legislative audit team has concluded their follow-up review. The one item they chose to note is that they recommend a decrease in the health care waiver payment described by the New Jersey Department of Pensions and Benefits. This is a situation where an employee who is covered under health insurance from their spouse chooses not to have health insurance from the district. They receive a waiver payment, and this legislative audit team is recommending that we decrease that payment. Any change to that payment must be negotiated in a collective bargaining agreement. We recently went through that with some unions, chose not to reduce it. The board's negotiations committee will be advised of this recommendation moving forward. With regard to the third item, the ESSER bid proposals and the elevator replacement, we've opened our first bid for multiple HVAC projects utilizing the ESSER funds of approximately $6.2 million. Projects include the HVAC systems at Bradley Elementary, AC in the high school, college wing, and gymnasium, as well as rooftop units at Thurgood Marshall Elementary. We also discussed the bid for the elevator replacement, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Upper Elementary School, and we expect to have that awarded bid included on the June agenda. Next item with regard to professional services bids in terms of number of years, the committee discussed renewing various professional services bids, and in light of a number of years without a bid, we recommend an RFP for the district auditor. The committee recommended that all other professional services with no major issues identified by the administration be continued for another year. And finally, I think we also covered this in Building and Grounds, update on the Life Skills Room at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Upper Elementary School. We'll install new sinks, oven, stovetop, washer, dryer, refrigerator, lights and flooring. Those have all been ordered, and the work is scheduled to begin in June. And that concluded finance.
Thank you, Dominic. Before we proceed, what I want to do is skip to the presentations for the kids, so I'm sure this is very boring for them. Dr. Adams.
Good evening, everyone. This is our portion of the program where we recognize our students of the month. As you know, this has been an ongoing program that we've been doing this year to recognize all of our students. Each month, there are a number of students that are selected by the school, by their teachers, but then we select one student of all of those students to be recognized at the board meeting. And so the students tonight are the May Students of the Month, and so we'll start with Thurgood Marshall, and I'll turn it over to the building principal.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Jackson, the proud principal of Thurgood Marshall Elementary School. And before we introduce our Student of the Month for May, I would like to invite up Ms. Hamilton and Ms. Jagu, our teacher and teacher aide of our Student of the Month, as they have a special gift as well. Thurgood Marshall Student of the Month is a young student who some words to describe her are gracious, polite, kind, respectful, and a true volunteer. I look to her as a ray of sunshine in our school building and a student that always brings out not only the best in herself, but all of those around her. Miss Altera Taylor, please come up and get your award. Mom, please come up as well. And Altera, in true Thurgood fashion, we have beautiful flowers, and I did my homework, a bag of all your favorite goodies. Here you go. We are so proud of you. It's heavy.
Let's give her another round of applause. Our next principal coming up is Miss Thea Jackson Byers, principal, the proud principal of Bradley Elementary School.
Enthusiastic learner, polite, helpful, just a good student are words that describe our second grade Student of the Month, Miss Amina Barrow. Today was our third marking period awards assembly, and when I say Amina had to have taken at least about 5, we needed about a couple of hands. Mom and Dad, we want to say thank you guys so much for everything. If it weren't for you, thank you for blessing us with Amina. So I have a couple of things. So Amina, of course, I have some spirit wear for you. So here you go, Amina. That's for you. Mom, these are for you for blessing us with the gift of Amina. And Mom and Dad, we want you to represent right for Bradley Elementary School. Thank you, Dr.
Congrats.
I'm sorry, and I just want to let you know that Amina's teacher is here, Miss Shelley Sanders. Miss Shelley's here.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders, for being here. Thank you, Ms. Jackson Byers. Our next up is Mr. Perry Medina, the principal of MLK Upper Elementary.
Unfortunately, I do not see my student, a young Mr. Dylan Chico Tepas. He's a fourth grader. He is an awesome kid. He shows up every single day. His attendance is awesome. His grades are A+, and he's an extremely honorable and helpful student in our school. So I will accept this award on his behalf, deliver this to him tomorrow along with his gift card. So thank you, Dylan, for being an awesome student.
Thank you. We have our National Honor Society induction at the high school today. And so Dr. Howard Morris is not going to be able to be here because she's presiding over that. So we have Mr. Edwin Ruiz, who will be presenting the high school student of the month.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Adams. It gives me great pleasure to do this, I have to tell you, because I know this young man very, very well. Mr. Kevin, I'm going to read this and I'm going to speak from my heart after I'm done here. But Kevin Caballero Cruz is a ninth grader, a dream student who is bilingual, speaking both English and Spanish fluently. Kevin wants to be a computer programmer in video game development. Yeah, you and I are going to talk after this. All right. Kevin is very involved in his church community and is a volunteer in the food bank. Kevin excels at working with others and loves his English class the best. I've had the pleasure of being the principal here at Bradley, and Kevin was one of my students. I can tell you unequivocally, he's an amazing young man. I've watched him grow up. I've had the pleasure of seeing him throughout the years, just even in the hallways, when it was a middle school and now at the high school. And there are no words to really explain how excited I was when Dr. Howard asked me to do this and who it was. So without further ado, I want to present this to Kevin Caballero Cruz. Mom, por favor, join us up here. This is a little swag bag for you, my friend. Absolutely. Well deserved.
Let's get a couple, guys.
All right, congratulations. That's up for you. Here, keep this.
Thank you, Mr. Ruiz. I'll go back to the microphone. That concludes our student presentations.
I want to say thank you again for everyone. Bye. We'll continue with our committee reports.
Okay, the Curriculum and Instruction Committee met. We basically discussed summer school. We discussed hiring a music band teacher for grades 7 through 8. I think that is something new. I don't recall us having to do that during our summer school. We discussed posting for 2 social emotional learning coordinators to work with our students. Also, the Spanish, French, and Creole reading coaches for the summer. There was something on the agenda that I had a question for. Rather than me trying to explain it, I'm going to ask Mr. Ruiz if he would break it down for us.
Not a problem. Thank you, Ms. Riggs. I believe the item in question was item number 17. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, item number 17, which is the recommendation to approve summer hours for our SACS attendance officers and the Health and Social Services Coordinator. So the question that Ms. Riggs had was, why did we need 2 SACS and 2 attendance officers? I explained to Ms. Riggs that each attendance officer and each SAC covers different levels. So one attendance officer and 1 SAC covers our elementary school grades, and the other one covers our secondary school grades. I just got word, just so you know, Ms. Riggs, I just got word from email that one of the SACs has resigned from that position, so it's going to be 1 SAC. We're going to amend this to be 1 SAC for this agenda item. Just so you know, what they do is they work for, they prepare in the summer for the 2022-23 school year. They also assist us with students who need buyback hours, making sure that they're showing up, going the attendance office and so forth and so on. And we also work on different scheduling needs as well in the summer. So those are the things, some of the items, just some of the items that they cover.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Mr. Medina, do you want to? Yep.
All right. My buddy here, Dylan, showed up. We're so happy to have him. Dylan, why don't you come on up so we can have a face. So this is my guy, Dylan, and as I mentioned before, he is an awesome kid, an awesome student. He is truly an inspiration. The fact that he's able to come in every day, go about his business, complete his assignments, and do so well is completely honorable. So, Mom, can you come up too? Very proud of you, buddy. Very proud of you. Let me take a picture. Hi, young lady. Hello. It's all right. All right. Okay, I'll send it to Dylan. I'll print one out. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Excuse me. So we had our Buildings and Grounds meeting. Some of the items that we spoke about, Dominic, who also spoke about during finance, so I'll skip over a few of the items. But we did have a facility use request by the Kazik Brothers Youth Football. They started a use of facility application, but they haven't completed all the requested documentation. We expect to receive a request for a fee waiver for approximately $1,500, but we'll only include on the agenda. We'll only include on the agenda if all the paperwork is submitted. I don't know if we've gotten that paperwork, right? Okay, so it won't be on the agenda. Also, water lead testing for recently reopened water fountains and for Obama are scheduled for this weekend coming up, right? And the district needs to test all facilities by June 30th, and this is a recent requirement that it must be conducted every 3 years. Dominic already went over the ESSER bid proposals, so I won't repeat it because it's exactly the same thing that was going to be discussed at Buildings and Grounds, as well as the life skill rooms. We had a couple of interesting conversations. We discussed topics such as reopening the basketball courts behind the high school and what that would entail. We talked about relocation of central office, repurposing of Obama School, and these are all just kind of preliminary conversations to wrap our brains around it a bit. Using the foundations to fund various repairs to district buildings and properties. And then I had brought up a topic that I had spoken about with a few folks in town regarding the name of Bradley Elementary School, and kind of brought up the idea of renaming Bradley Elementary School to honor U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I received kind of the policy information on that and what's needed for that to happen. But one of the things that I had mentioned during the meeting was that obviously we would want public feedback on this. As a personal point of opinion, renaming it is not something that is needed or necessary, but it is a way to meet the moment of this this historic moment of Ketanji Brown Jackson being appointed to the highest court in the land. I think there's no other school in Asbury Park that's named after a woman. And according to the board policy, a school building or school facility may be named to memorialize the outstanding service of a school district employee or officer, and no such employee or officer would be considered during his or her lifetime. And then the board would welcome the suggestions from members of the community in naming school buildings and facilities. So I want to just open up that conversation and see what the board thought of renaming Bradley Elementary School. I think especially after seeing just these wonderful students that came to get their award and come to get their award every month. We already have a park. We already have the tallest statue in Asbury Park honoring James Bradley. And thinking of someone that our children can look up to, that is not political because it's a Supreme Court justice, complementary to Thurgood Marshall Elementary School. I wanted to just get everyone else's thought about that.
I like the fact that the building and ground discussed renaming Bradley School, especially after, I love the fact that the building and grounds committee discussed renaming the Bradley School, and especially after a woman. I have a couple of folks that I like to be considered, and one of them would be Shirley Chisholm. She is the first black woman elected to Congress. And another one is Barbara Jordan. She's the first black woman elected to from Texas, and she was also an attorney and a civil rights leader. Those are two suggestions from me.
I was just gonna say, I support your, the idea or the decision, especially with the time that we're in right now, and like what we just saw, the many examples. I feel as though it'll be very inspiring for the children, for everyone. I'm with it. That's all you gotta know. I'm with it.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and we could take some steps, as you say, Joe. Let's get feedback from everyone. If there's other suggestions from, and then feedback from the community, from the staff. But I think it's a great idea to be moving forward in that. Thank you.
I would have liked to have named it after Miss Ricks, but
Look, especially since I live around the corner.
We also have a comment from Ms. Lozinski.
yeah.
Joe, could you, thank you.
I was thinking even our vice president would be an interesting choice to consider also.
Any other comments?
The only other question I had was one of, are there any costs associated to it that we should consider? And also, how do we go about getting community feedback other than just, I guess, public comment during the next few school board meetings?
Can we do a survey?
The board can certainly elicit public comment through various mediums. Certainly by welcoming members of the public to board meetings. Additionally, I do realize that not everybody has access to a computer, but you can certainly, if you'd like, run a survey electronically online. You can use whatever methods and modes you think will best elicit a response from the largest, part of the community as possible. So I think there are multiple levels or ways of doing that, And again, the idea is to not only elicit input from members of the community, but also students, staff, et cetera, so that it can be an open dialogue for everyone.
So
As far as the costs associated with it, obviously you have signage and things like that, but aside from that, I'm not aware and cannot think of any major costs that would be associated with it at all. Perhaps the architect may need to, modify a plan or two just to indicate the name of the building with the DOE, but other than that, that's really rather minor.
And we could probably see if there's plenty of sign companies in town that may even want to donate their services for free, so, Well, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Before we open up public comments, we'll have a comment from our lawyer, Adam.
Yes, in
I'm
accordance.
sorry, there was a comment we wanted to make about athletics, and I didn't know if you wanted to touch base on policy. Ms. Lozinski, did you want to discuss athletics, or?
I wasn't at athletics, but I was at policy, and all of them are mandated except for one, it's just a correction. So it's really not much to discuss besides that. Unless I missed something, Jeff.
No, you're correct, and in terms of athletics, Ms. Breach asked me to mention that the awards banquet that was scheduled for June 16th, Thursday, due to a conflict with graduation at the charters, is going to be suggested to move to the 15th, which is a Wednesday.
Okay, so in accordance with Board Policy 0167, the Asbury Park Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and other matters of importance and provides members of the public with the opportunity to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The public comment portion of the meeting is not a question and answer session, and all public comments shall be directed to the board president. Members of the public who wish to make public comments must be recognized by the presiding officer and provide his or her name, municipality of residence, and group affiliation if applicable. All public comments shall be directed to the presiding officer and are limited to 3 minutes in duration. Members of the public who do not follow the foregoing rules and/or interfere with the orderly operation of the board meeting may be removed from the meeting.
Thank you. At this time, we'll open a public comment. At this time, I'll close public comment.
We'll do the minutes at the regular session.
Okay, we're going to make a motion to move into exec. Before that, whereas the Open Public Act allows the exclusion for discussion at the public portion of the meeting of certain matters as outlined below. And whereas the Asbury Park Board of Education was to discuss such matters made and will make public such discussions public when proper conclusion has been reached. Now therefore by resolved that on May 19, 2022 at Asbury Park, New Jersey, for the purpose of the outline and described below, upon return action may be taken. 1, confidential matters per statute on the court order. Impact rights to receive federal funds, unwarranted division of individual privacy, collective bargaining, acquisition of real property or investment of funds, public safety procedures, litigations or contract matters, or contact or client privilege, personnel matters, or inflation of penalties upon an individual. Motion, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
For members of the public who are here, the board's going to retire into executive session to discuss matters of attorney-client privilege, contracts, negotiations, and other personnel matters. It's expected that the board will be in executive session for approximately 20 minutes. No formal action will be taken in executive session, and we will return at approximately 7 o'clock for the regularly scheduled public meeting. Thank you.
Wow.